The bases dropped on a Friday edition of Soccer Down here, August 30th, as we get ready for a big weekend around Major League Soccer. There's an international break coming up for some teams, not for others, and some people are not very happy about that. We'll get into that as we go this morning. We'll get you set for the weekend in terms of prize picks. We'll get you set for the weekend in terms of MLS fantasy. Hopefully you didn't have any Montreal or Vancouver players in your lineup. I don't think John did, so I think he dodged the bullet.
Yeah, too busy to change the lineup for that particular match, so I was lucky in that regard.
Luckily, he wasn't stuck with Didier Drogba from his Montreal Impact days in the lineup. That didn't happen. But we'll get into all of that. We'll get
or any of the Leonard Doozies from Vancouver.
All right, we're not doing North American Soccer League fantasy now. It's not 1980 fantasy. I don't think the internet existed then. All right, but first up, as we always do on a weekend preview edition, let's run through the MLS schedule, and you might want to get your juice boxes stacked up. You know, your good ones, your nice apple flavors. Put those to one side. The weird ones that are in the variety packs that nobody ever wants, that end up in the back of the fridge, like kiwi or, the weird combinations of things. What did you say?
Aloe strawberry.
Aloe juice boxes. Okay.
To help out with sunburn.
You drink them, John. Juice boxes are to drink. Or to do other things with, like these games and thinking about where you want to put juice boxes when it comes to these games. And there's a few tricky ones. I'll be very curious because I never look at what the juice box purveyors are thinking about these games. I go through the schedule. I pull up a few numbers that are relevant, and we go from there. And then sometimes there's surprise. Sometimes there's, that makes a lot of sense. Let's see what happens this time around. It starts off tomorrow night. Red Bulls hosting the Colorado Rapids. The New York Red Bulls are in fourth place in the East with 41 points. We're not going to remind Colorado of where they are or how many points they have because it's not good. The Rapids have not won a match on the road in their last 7. The Red Bulls haven't lost to Colorado at home in their last 6 times. Remember, they only see them at home once every couple of years. This feels like a pretty dominant Red Bull victory. So whatever juice box you're going to make a cocktail and you're going to pour some Red Bull in it. And what do people think?
Line opens up, and this is an amalgamation of our friends at Odds Checker and Odds Shark, where we have the composite. Started at minus 265 for Red Bulls to win. That's dropped a little bit depending on where you are. It's anywhere from minus 225 to minus 250. Colorado initially started to win at plus 550. That really hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. It's anywhere from 575 in one place and 600 in others down to 500. So it's dominant Red Bulls here.
Not even the aloe strawberry juice box that John says exists. Don't even. Just if you're going to put anything here, put a lot of juice boxes on the Red Bulls and hope you make a little bit something back. Columbus and Chicago is next. The Fire are still hanging around. They're in 10th. They have 33 points, but they're only 4 points out of 7th. And what's very interesting is when you get into strength of schedule as to what's left. And the Fire don't have a lot of games left, but what they do have left, it's the easiest in the league. So they're not done yet. They have 1 win in their last 26 away from home, though. That's a lot of games. Lots of games that they have not had any wins. The Crew, they figured out how to score some goals lately. They've scored 2+ goals in their last 3 matches at Mopfre Stadium. I'm intrigued. What do the juice boxes say?
As you should be. Columbus actually started out at minus 109, but that has shifted. That has shifted generally anywhere from plus 123 to plus 130 now across the board. Chicago started at plus 255 to win, considering that road number that you gave leading into this. and it's pretty much drifted to down around plus 200 overall.
What's the draw option on this one, by the way?
Plus 235 to plus 255. Odds Checker has it dropped all the way to plus 200.
So you got pluses across the board. Which means nobody has any clue what's going to happen here.
No.
It's a pick your poison kind of match. Man.
Avoiding it.
Probably, yeah, because there's not a plus number that is appealing enough to break out that old Kiwi juice box in the back of the fridge. I don't trust either one of these teams to throw that down on anything. I mean, if you're a complete and utter degenerate, draw. That's kind of
not that we neither condone or endorse that kind of behavior, but we do have folks who are that way.
Not at all. It's for informational purposes only. But yes, draw. I don't like any of them, but I'm going to go draw. So I have to pick one. Montreal hosting DC. Montreal's in 7th. They're in the final spot in the East at 37 points. DC's in 5th with 39. Here's a number for you. 10 out of the last 12 times these teams have played, there's been at least 3 goals scored. So the plus-minus number could be interesting.
So the total.
DC have lost their last 3 in a row. Montreal, and this goes back to your plus-minus number, Montreal have scored 2+ goals in 6 of their last 7 at home. I'm leaning Impact here.
All right. Montreal started minus 143. It's dropped a little bit. It's pretty much anywhere from 130 to 133, so that really hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. Odds Checker has it at minus 125, so it's been a little bit of a drop-off there. DC United started plus 325, and it is all over the place. It has gone up to 345, plus 345 in some places, down to plus 310 in others, and Odds Checker has DC all the way up to plus 360. So they don't know what to think about DC right now.
No, DC's an absolute mess. I'm taking the over on the total, and I'd take Montreal here.
Yeah. So you're thinking parlaying juice boxes.
Yeah, this feels like one that you might want to do that. It feels like a potential parlay option in this match. New England and Toronto, another one with 2 teams that are on either side of the playoff line. New England's on the good side of it in 6th place, 38 points. Toronto's on the bad side, 8th place, 37 points. Same number of points as Impact, but one behind them in the table. The Revs, they scored 2+ goals in 8 of their last 10. New England has also only lost 1 time in their last 15 matches. Toronto has lost their last 3 times out at Gillette Stadium. There were some kind of bad New England teams in that mix, too. Okay, what do the juice boxes think?
New England started minus 115. That has dropped closer to the even money number. Probably plus 105 to plus 110 is the most. That's the biggest range you're going to get on this whole thing. So it's dropped about 20 juice boxes. Toronto started plus 225. That really hasn't changed a whole lot. You've got Toronto plus 229 as a range to plus 215. So it's kind of both of these numbers have kind of hovered around the same thing since the line was first introduced.
I think New England gets the win.
Yeah.
I just don't trust Toronto. I think everybody else trusts Toronto too much. I don't trust them at all. And they've had bad luck with New England in New England, and they haven't done well in that stadium, and New England's really done well. I mean, I don't think New England loses. Might be a draw, but I'm leaning Revs win. Dallas and Cincinnati's next. Dallas is in the final playoff spot in the West with 40 points. Cincinnati, we're not going to throw shade. They have conceded 2+ goals in their last 7, and Dallas have not lost in their last 8 at home. How big is the number for Dallas to win?
Okay.
All I'm going to ask.
All right. It started minus 435. It has dropped as a range from minus 250 to minus 275.
Okay.
FC Cincinnati to start plus 1050.
Wow, that is the largest number ever.
And I feel like I'm talking AM radio here. It has dropped. It's almost been cut in half. FC Cincinnati anywhere from plus 700 to plus 540. So it has plummeted, but it is still a prohibitive Dallas look.
Yeah, it plummeted because there's lots of degenerates out there. I mean, you see a plus 1050, and it's like, hey, where is the worst juice box ever created? I'm going to go get it and put it on that game.
Jared thinks Aloe Strawberry sounds amazing, though.
No, it doesn't. Not drinking it. Not even putting it on that game.
Sounds kind of chewy to me.
Chewy?
Yeah, just there's no it's like it's a very thick constitution is what it sounds like.
Sometimes I just throw my hands up and I have no idea where you're going and just smile and nod. So that's what I'm doing right now. You can't see it, but I'm smiling and nodding because I have no idea where John's going with that one.
You throwing your hands up too?
No, that one didn't even get the hands up. Dallas wins and they win by a lot. Sporting Kansas City and Houston. Kansas City, they're not done yet. They're in ninth. They're on 34 points. They still have a lifeline. Houston is done. They have lost 11 of their last 12 on the road. Kansas City's only lost 1 of their last 11 against the Dynamo at home. Sporting wins, and what do the juice boxes think?
Sporting started at minus 230. That has dropped, and your range is pretty much minus 140 to minus 150. Houston is half of Cincinnati, started at plus 510, and that has dropped, obviously, because of the enthusiastic gentleman with juice boxes, and that has dropped anywhere from plus 340 to plus 380.
No. Not even the pomegranate and lime juice box. Not going on that one.
No, not touching it.
Not happening. All right, Vancouver and NYC. The Pigeons are in third place in the East, 47 points. They have a game in hand on Atlanta. They've also won their last 3 in a row and 4 of their last 5. Vancouver's Vancouver. They're crazy and all over the place, and every once in a while they'll pop up a good result, then they'll give up 40-something shots in a game. Every time these teams have played, there have been at least 3 goals scored in the match. Every time. Since 2015. 3 goals, at least. So there's your total over-under number for you. What do the juice boxes think on the result?
So are you thinking parlay in this one as well?
Well, let's see what the numbers are.
All right. Vancouver was almost half of Houston. Started at plus 285, and the number has gone up. It is at plus 310 to plus 330. NYCFC comfortably starting at minus 134, hasn't moved a whole lot, still in the 130s regardless of where you are.
That's one of those. I mean, Vancouver has pulled results at home.
Yes.
You know, maybe the white grape juice box.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. I'm not drinking it, but maybe that's the one you go with. What's the total number?
If your total's 2.5, the over is minus 200.
Yeah, they did their studying. Not touching that one then. So maybe a white grape juice box on Vancouver, maybe. Portland and RSL. Timbers are in 8th place, 1 spot out of the playoffs. They're on 37 points. RSL's in second, 6 points more at 43. Portland has won 3 straight against RSL in all competitions. However, RSL have 1 loss in their last 6, while Portland have lost back-to-back matches. This one is very, very intriguing.
Portland starts at minus 143, hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot, but they are still in the minus. They're minus anywhere from 125 to 135. So it's dropped a little bit.
Okay.
Real Salt Lake starts at plus 325, really hasn't changed there either. They're anywhere from plus 300 to plus 330.
So let me get this straight. Vancouver was what? Plus what? 300, 325?
Yeah, 300 to 330, yeah.
And RSL's the same.
Mm-hmm. Basically.
Okay. That gets the mixed berry juice boxes.
All right.
That's Portland's lost back-to-back. Portland hasn't exactly looked unbelievable here in their last couple matches. They did lose to Atlanta and Seattle. That is true. But RSL's in second place. You know?
Yeah.
RSL's not exactly scrubs here.
Your draw option, anywhere from plus 270 to plus 310.
That might be a juice box on RSL to win and a juice box on a draw. Yeah, I could see RSL coming out of there with something. I really could. Okay. That's one to keep an eye on. Yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye on. San Jose and Orlando. The Quakes, 6th place in the West, 41 points. Orlando, 9th place in the East, 34 points. Orlando's record away from home. In their last 28 matches away from home, they have 3 wins. Flip side, San Jose, they have not lost in their last 11 at Avaya Stadium. But let's flip the side again, because this was the crazy number of the week. San Jose and Orlando have played 4 times in history. Quakes have never beaten Orlando City. 1 Orlando win, 3 draws. Do the Quakes get their first win over Orlando City on Saturday night?
All right. San Jose started minus 159. From there, it has gone through the roof.
Oh, really?
Consistent number minus 250.
Okay.
Orlando City starts at plus 335. That one has blown up as well. Anywhere from plus 540 to, on odds checker, plus 600.
Wow, that's exciting. I don't know what to make of that, because San Jose had looked very leggy in recent games, and then they played Vancouver. And Vancouver is a conundrum wrapped in a question, wrapped in a riddle. So, is San Jose back? Did they just get lucky playing against a very bad team who had a very bad night on top of that? And then when you look at the other side with Orlando, Orlando has had one of the better defenses in the league this season. Now, they're not expected to have Juan and Joao Moutinho. They're still injured. They're not quite back yet. This is their last game before the break, and they do play LAFC over the break, and they're going to be missing 5 players during that, so that's not good. So this game ends up having a little bit extra meaning. Can Orlando go across the country and pull a surprise against Jarrett Smith's San Jose Earthquakes? What's the draw option?
Draw option is anywhere from plus 375 to plus 425.
Oh, give me a draw. That's where I'm going with. Definitely thinking draw on there.
Mixed berry juice box in the draw?
No, I'm putting the Yogo Farmer's Fresh strawberry yogurt juice box on the draw there.
Okay.
That sounds gross. Okay, Sunday games. Seattle and the LA Galaxy. Seattle's in third, 43 points. Galaxy in fourth, 42 points. The Galaxy have conceded at least 2 goals in their last 5 straight away from home, and they failed to win any of those. 3 draws in the last 5 matches between these two.
Seattle, minus 143. Dropped a little bit. Pretty much wherever you go, you can get it at minus 133 to minus 135. Galaxy to start, plus 300. And that one has gone up anywhere from plus 305 to plus 340 if you can get it.
You know, I kind of like a Galaxy upset here because Seattle's defense, since the Roman Torres PED suspension and the Chad Marshall retirement, not exactly convincing. And the Galaxy do have a rather large Swedish man who likes to score lots of goals in big games. They're going to need him to score lots of goals in this game. And Christian Pavone looked pretty good for a good stretch of El Tráfico. I think the Galaxy get the win. I do.
No.
I think the Galaxy get the win, and Cran Grape Juice Box will be on that one.
Wow.
Cran Grape. LAFC and Minnesota close out the weekend. The Loons are in 5th place with 42 points. LAFC's running away from everybody. LAFC undefeated in their last 13 at Bank of California Stadium. They've also scored at least 3 goals in their last 6 matches at Bank of California. The Loons are trying to pick themselves up after a disappointing U.S. Open Cup final loss to Atlanta, and Darwin Quintero has voiced his displeasure about not being in the starting lineup. Tried to be as respectful as possible, but he was pretty clear that he wasn't happy about not starting and didn't feel like it was communicated very well. I think it's a bad day for the Loons.
Purveyors agree with you.
Yeah, that's a shot.
LAFC started minus 530.
Ooh.
That has fallen a great deal. You can get it pretty much anywhere from minus 286 to minus 310. Minnesota United started out almost as an FC Cincinnati, plus 1,000.
Wow.
It dropped, obviously, and it is now anywhere from plus 625 to plus 700, but still prohibitive LAFC.
Yeah, you're not going to find a juice box to put on the Loons here. There's just there's not one that you can find in the fridge for it. It's an easy one. I mean, maybe if you're feeling really squirrely, the over or a draw or something, but no, it ain't happening.
The one where the expiration date on the juice box is past, and
yeah,
it's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's way past. It's got Big Bird on the front of it, and it's very old, and it's probably mango and peach or something that you just were like, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that brand. I don't know where this came from. No, you're not even doing
over that. At 2.5 is minus 350.
Yeah, nothing to play for there. So there's your juice box segment of the week. We will look at fantasy and prize picks here in a little bit, but there's some news and nuggets to talk about in our next segment. If you want to join the conversation, tweet at us at SoccerDownHere, and we'll get into that as well. Mike Conti, Doug Robertson will join us in hour number 2 to get ready for Atlanta and Philadelphia. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, August 30th. I believe there was some controversy in the first segment, according to some folks on Twitter. We'll get to that in a minute. But there is some news we want to get into first. 49,504 folks on hand last night in Philadelphia for the U.S. women's national team. 4-0 win on the victory tour over Portugal. Very expected result. Tobin Heath, Morgan Bryan, Carly Lloyd, Allie Long are your goal scorers there. They are next in action on Tuesday, again against Portugal at Allianz Field in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a little hard to get excited about it because it's Portugal. It's not an opponent that you know is going to test them. There's a bunch of injuries right now, too, so it's a great celebration, I think, to go. It's not necessarily the most compelling product at the moment, so we'll see where this goes in the long term. I want to see, for the women's side, conversations about the coaching hire and conversations about what the roster is going to look like for next summer's Olympics. And that'll start with Olympic qualifying, which will be later in the year too. So all of that stuff, those are the questions I'm looking at for the women. These games for me are a fun day at the stadium if they're in your location. And when you can get 49,000, very fun day at the stadium in Philadelphia. All right, couple of quotes from the news yesterday. Michael Bradley, not called up to the U.S. men's national team, and Greg Berhalter made it clear that he didn't call up any of the Toronto players because of what they have ahead of them. They have to play during the international break. There's actually quite a few games during this international break, and Michael Bradley is not a fan of that. Here's his quote. I said it before, and I'll say it again. It's the worst part about the league. The fact that teams play through FIFA dates. Because as you're trying to give everything you have for your club team and the national team, there's too many moments where you're missing something, and I think it's got to be the next step for the league, or one of the next steps, in terms of respecting the FIFA dates, not playing through summer tournaments. And it always comes back to scheduling issues. We mentioned that with Orlando. Orlando has 5 players that were called up to national team duty. I believe that's the most they've ever had. That's a big deal for Orlando City. But yeah, during the break, when those 5 guys are not available, they're playing LAFC.
Mm-hmm.
LAFC is going to be missing a few people, but they're not going to be missing Carlos Vela. And Orlando will be missing Tesho Akindele, Will Johnson, Kamal Miller, all with Canada, Carlos Asquez with Peru, Sebastian Mendez with Ecuador. The quote from Asquez was pretty funny, or the story about it. He hadn't been called up for 3 years to Peru, and when he got the call up, he thought it was a prank call. And the coach,
wow,
the coach Ricardo Gareca had to assure him that it was legitimate. Like, yes, we're inviting you to come join us, please.
Like, no, dog.
Yeah, I'm still baffled that I thought Asquez was their best player on the field against Atlanta, and Orlando fans were talking about how terrible he was. It blew me away. The scheduling thing's got to get fixed. And it's something that the league has to sit down and figure out the strategy for, because, yes, the summer tournaments are going to be very difficult to completely take a month off. Yep, it's where you're at in the schedule and the way you structure your schedule. It's going to be hard. These types of situations, though, should not be as hard. They should be able to have the league stop for a week and players go away to international duty and not have it be an issue. That needs to happen. It's just not okay to continue this way. Not when you're trying to recruit national team players, not when you're trying to recruit ambitious players. It's got to stop. And it's something, for me, it's as big of a deal as charter flights and the rest of it, because it affects the competition. I mean, now you're going to have a situation where Orlando, fighting for a playoff spot, is going to be at a severe disadvantage playing during the international break because they have good players. And their players were called up to national team duty. They shouldn't be disadvantaged by that.
No. Get this fixed. Big bold letters, flashing neon, big shiny photograph. Get this fixed.
Darwin Quintero was not happy about not starting on Tuesday night in the Open Cup final. Here's the quote from Andy Greeter at the Pioneer Press in St. Paul. He said, "I was very surprised. I was upset. I was frustrated, especially being the leading goal scorer in the tournament. I wanted to be there." And this is through a translator. Talking about Adrian Heath. He's the one who makes the final decision. But when someone tells you one thing and does another without telling you about it in person, it hurts. Quintero is coming into an option year next year, not making crazy money. He's in the $1.5 million a year range. I don't know what the option would be for. I don't know if it's a simple decision for Minnesota to pick up his option if you're leaving him out of the starting lineup in a cup final.
Yeah. And if you are saying these kinds of things publicly, is it an outlier in your mind? Is it consistent in your mind? As the old phrase that comes up when you have the stereotypic actor in the play that he's in. What's my motivation? And right now, when you have Quintero saying these kinds of things publicly, that's just not a good sign for the future.
If you're another team in the league who is looking at 2020 and players who might be available, that would be your motivation. You would be looking at Darwin Quintero and say, well, Minnesota, you're not so sure you want to pick up the option on this guy, and you're not starting him in your biggest games in club history. He'll start for us.
Yep.
Here's a bucket of TAM. Have fun.
Yes.
All right. MLS released an article by Charlie Boehm about the strength of schedule, and it's the update for what's left. It is taking into account home and away. It's taking into account the quality of the opposition. At the bottom end of the table, in terms of the easiest schedules left, 3 teams that have work to do. Montreal, Portland, and Chicago have the easiest schedules out of what's left. Atlanta United right in the middle, 1.38 points per game out of who's left. Maybe on the easier half, but pretty close to the middle. The toughest ones are 2 teams that have a lot of work to do to ensure their spot, and then one that is trying to win a conference. Minnesota has the toughest schedule out of what's left, 1.73. San Jose and Philadelphia are next at 1.7. Then it's down to New England at 1.63, Galaxy at 1.57. Minnesota and San Jose, neither one is guaranteed a playoff spot. And when you look at both sides of this, Quakes, Loons, battling to get into the top 7 in the West. It's 8, maybe 9 if you think Sporting Kansas City still has a shot, and their strength of schedule is on the other side of Atlanta's. It's in the middle, but on the tougher half of it. So, Kansas City can balance that. They got to make some points up. Minnesota and San Jose have a very difficult run in, and then one of the teams they're battling with, the Portland Timbers, have one of the easiest runs in. I can't wait to see how this finishes out. because I think there will be surprises and there will be big games every week from here on out. And as Michael Bradley alluded to, there's going to be some big games next weekend, like the New England Revolution going to Yankee Stadium. Toronto goes to Cincinnati. At least they get a manageable one. That Orlando LAFC one we mentioned. Like Portland hosting Sporting Kansas City. That's about as big of a game as you're going to get, and it's in the middle of the international break. So the strength of schedule is one thing, but when you look at players you're going to call away to national teams, that's another. It gets really complicated, and you've got 4 out of 5 games, and I'm not including the Colorado-Seattle one. Seattle's in a pretty decent spot. They go to Colorado, so maybe let's include it. It's a little tricky. All 5 have some pretty significant playoff implications during the international break, and the strength of schedule gives you an idea of what these teams are, but during this international break, it's not necessarily who they're going to be because of people that could be missing.
6 points separating 2 through 8 in the West right now. 9 points if you add Sporting Kansas City in 9th. And food for thought, a couple of teams are close to being 500 on the road, but no team in the West from 2nd on down is above 500 or is at 500 or above on the road this season.
We got a little bit of this. I'm going to hit the brand new air horn. Yeah, we found one. Taylor Twellman tweets that hearing that Gressel will not be suspended for this weekend versus Philadelphia Union, ... The consistency of the, quote, retro ref, unquote, retro ref, apostrophe, ing, unquote, in MLS is extremely difficult to follow. Hands to the face, open hand punch / slap. Atlanta United dodge a big one with a huge game this weekend if it's true. And Taylor's right. I mean, I'm not taking any issue with anything he says here. Video's there. It's a smack to the face. Yes, he was grabbed. Doesn't matter. It's a smack to the face. Sometimes that gets punished. Sometimes that doesn't. And that's really strange. Consistency is an issue here. But when you create the dilemma of you didn't do anything to Zlatan's elbow, then this is not that. So you're not going to do anything to this. But then other things have been punished. It's very confusing, and there's really no way to know what's going to happen when it goes to disco.
Yeah, and if you were to step out of line and do something here, then that just adds to all of the fever and fervor flavor of the retro reffing, as Taylor Twellman puts it.
Well, no, I'll disagree because letter of the law and the way that things have been done sometimes, this should be a suspension. Like this, it should have been. It could have been. There's no argument about it.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just discussing the consistency of the retro reffing more than anything else.
But that's where I have an issue with it. It's one thing if it's just a complete gray area. Look, they've made it clear that hands to the face is not acceptable, and we're going to punish it, and we've talked about it, and they have punished it sometimes. So it's in the rules. It's one thing if it is just a complete judgment and there's nothing specific said about this type of issue. But it's very clear that this is something they are trying to get rid of. So if it was a suspension, there would be no complaint. You couldn't complain about it because it's very clear that this shouldn't happen. I'm curious to see what like Philadelphia might say about it. And I don't know if they'll say anything about it. I don't know if Jim Curtin will mention it in pregame or postgame comments. But yeah, it's not consistent, and it should be consistent across the board, and it shouldn't be consistent that a smack to the face is okay. You know what I mean? Like that shouldn't be where the consistency falls. And in this situation, we talked about it after the game. I understand why the referee didn't see it. And when you look at the video, he is probably 30, 40 yards away, and there are players in between, and you don't know his exact line of sight, but to be able to catch that off the ball, totally understand it. I think Nani's reaction, laying face down until the whistle blows for the play to be stopped a few, maybe 30 seconds later, and then sprinting over to get in his face, that would easily lead Nima Sagafi to think that it wasn't a big deal. I don't know if any of the ARs saw it. The VAR should have seen it, and I don't know why they didn't. The whole situation was handled strangely because it was given a yellow, there was no advantage played, and it was also called a foul 30 seconds after the play had ended because Orlando got a free kick from that spot. That was all incredibly awkward. And I'd love to know the conversation that was the involving the VAR in this moment. But with no red card here, the maximum penalty you could give would be 2-game suspension. Now, what I don't know is could the Disco come in and give basically a retroactive red card and give a 1-game suspension? Because that feels like what would have been appropriate here. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it would be a multiple game suspension. It feels like it could have been a red card, probably should have been a red card, although I understand why it was missed in the moment. But a 1-game suspension, I think everybody nods their head and walks on. So I'm a little baffled about it as well, but Disco has been far more inconsistent this year than in previous years, in my opinion.
And then I guess if you're going to look at the context of Nani hopping back up and then just running back down and take that into the context of the action as you're looking at it in
but that has nothing to do with Disco.
Mirror.
No, that has zero to do with Disco. That Disco's not judging that. I understand the referee judging and that factoring into it in the heat of the moment. Disco's not. That has nothing to do with it because Disco's not judging the amount of force of the contact to the face. They're just judging what's their contact to the face.
Yeah. Disco is the moment itself and the laws of the game.
Yeah. Disco is like VAR. It takes the context of it out. I mean, the context, and Nani didn't help himself in the moment of if he wanted to get Gressel red carded, which is at the very end of the game. It doesn't really matter, and that's another thing that's kind of silly about the whole moment on the Orlando side is it's not going to affect the game. You had a free kick. You would have had one less player to defend a free kick. That's about it. But his actions, I think, caused Nima Sagafi to have a different feeling about it. That's understandable for the referee in that moment. VAR, I don't know what they were doing, and I don't know what Disco's doing here. It's just inconsistent, and it's strange. I don't know. I mean, Atlanta will take it and be very happy about it to have Julian Gressel this weekend. But very weird, very inconsistent.
No, right there with you. No,
all right, let's take a quick break here. We've got some tweets we want to get to, but we're going to take a quick break and recharge, and we'll be right back after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire, and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm going to let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky and Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Final segment, hour number 1, August 30th. It's a Friday weekend preview edition of SDH. Let's get into the Twitters and see what y'all are thinking this morning.
Nathan Pugh says it's a little over there, or it could be a little over there, but give me your best Eric Cantona-style acceptance speech.
I have not ingested any alcohol this morning, and I am unable to do that.
For those who missed
my mental faculties have not been altered enough to be able to do that.
Here's his acceptance speech for getting the award yesterday. What was the award that he got from UEFA?
I don't know. He was
UEFA
honored,
President's Award.
Yeah, he was honored for his work with Common Goal, which is a great program that Juan Mata has been heavily involved in, with players donating 1% of their salary to organizations, and I think it's one organization that then doles out the money to organizations that use soccer for some aspect of social change.
And so in his acceptance speech, and Cantona was wearing the I don't know if it's a Kangol, I'll just call it a Walter Mitty hat.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was a Kangol brand.
Yeah, he's wearing his Walter Mitty hat, full beard, button-down shirt, blue jeans, and his eyeglasses are hooked on the front of the dress shirt. He starts out by referencing King Lear,
of course,
and goes from there. As flies to wanton boys, we are for the gods. They kill us for their sport. Soon the science will not only be able to slow down the aging of the cells, soon the science will fix the cells to the state, and so we will become eternal. Only accidents, crimes, wars will still kill us, but unfortunately, crimes, wars will multiply. I love football, thank you. And he walked off the stage.
Yeah, and the very confused cheering was awesome.
Ronaldo looked weirded out, and Messi was deep in thought trying to figure out what he was saying.
Messi was trying to get there. Messi was trying to
get
inside of Cantona's head. Ronaldo's just like, I don't want any part of trying to figure that out.
I don't want to get to that head.
No. Messi was giving it a go, and I can respect that from Leo.
Ian Lundberg, after Atlanta United leaves the pitch on Saturday, NYCFC will play 4 times before we play again. MLS scheduling at its worst.
Wait a minute. Hold on. 4 times? No. So, well, okay, they play the same night, so it's just NYC's in Vancouver. So that's one. Then NYC plays on September 7th during the break. Then they do, yeah, okay. I apologize. Then they play midweek on the 11th where they host Toronto. That's the second game Toronto has to play during it. Then they play in the afternoon on the 14th when Atlanta plays at 7 o'clock on the 14th. So a couple of them are, okay, we're stretching a bit, but those 2 games during the break.
Still +2.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about it, is they have a game in hand right now, and by the time you finish on the 14th of September, Atlanta will have a game in hand on NYC. So it's just, don't play during the international break. But
no,
when you are playing at Yankee Stadium and you've got to find days where the Yankees are not hanging out, then you play on the 7th and the 11th, and there you go.
Lewis Martin, do you think the biggest debates in the CBA will be players versus owners, or big spending owners versus thrifty owners?
I think the biggest will be the players versus the owners, but I think internally there will be a battle between owners who don't want to spend a whole lot more and owners who want to open things up more. I think the days are gone with owners who are going to say, no, we're not going to spend any more. Look, that's not happening. That's not where the league is. And I think everybody realizes that, even the ones who don't want to spend a ton. I think they realize, look, our investment is going to grow if we spend more. And if other teams spend more, okay, cool. We'll be able to sell the team for more if that's what we want to do. So I think that ship has sailed about we're going to not spend more or we're going to cut back. The question is how much more is going to be spent, and that'll be a battle on the other side, on the MLS side. But I think the players versus the owner side is going to be the biggest battles, because you're not just talking about money, you're talking about charter flights, you're talking about things like this in terms of scheduling, like Michael Bradley said. You're talking about free agency, which I think will be a big point of discussion. There's lots of things outside of just straight up spending on players that the players will be battling with.
Patrick Cox is saying that he's got a 6-hour drive after work today, so he's going to need us to go to put out at least a 4-hour show today.
Nope. I apologize, Patrick, but nope. There's an Oglethorpe soccer match at 1 o'clock that I will be checking out, since I'll be calling their game starting next Friday as Oglethorpe and Emory renew one of the oldest college soccer rivalries in the South, going all the way back to 1961 when Oglethorpe and Emory first met.
A lot of folks have contributed to Tafka's thoughts this morning, and we'll let that go into the timeline, but just as a public service. Tafka's compiling his greatest collection of rock playlist. He's already 40 songs deep, but he's looking for suggestions anywhere in the rock universe, and a lot of folks have contributed to that.
That can go a bunch of different places. Just off the top of my head, as I sit here at 9:53 on Friday, August 30th, because if you ask me an hour later or you ask me a day later, I'd probably come up with different songs. But right now, off the top of my head, Rocket Queen by Guns N' Roses. Let's put Corduroy by Pearl Jam. Let's put Turn You Inside Out by R.E.M.
I was waiting for one of those.
Let's put Rock and Roll Star by Oasis. And one more we'll go with Peach by Prince. And yes, that's considered rock.
Okay. Daniel Price has a sinking feeling. Oh, and by the way, everybody go to JBailey86 on Twitter, vote in the Bailey Daily Poll, and get fired up for what you think is going to happen in Philadelphia this weekend. Win by 2, win by 1, draw or lose outright. Daniel Price has a sinking feeling that this will also be a draw, more than likely being a pretty uninspiring one. The team is tired. The break will do wonders. However, if they pull a win out of this, it will set us up to win the conference.
It's going to be a tough one. Philadelphia is good, and Philadelphia does some very interesting things tactically. I want to see how Jim Curtin lines his group up. But, yeah, Atlanta's going to have to find an extra gear, and they're going to have to do it without Ezequiel Barco. I'm curious to see how Frank DeBoer lines his group up.
Katie Weaver, it's Katie's birthday, so happy birthday, Katie.
Happy birthday, Katie.
So in honor of that, in this week's Atlanta United Trophy, she's wishing to be gifted with a go-to celebratory song, and she's starting with Don't Stop Me Now by Queen.
I cannot argue with that at all. I cannot argue with anything Queen-related.
Nope.
Let me see if there is another one I would also add to that conversation real quick. I mean, there's the obvious ones, but I try to find something a little off the beaten path. Let's see. One that gets overlooked a lot of times, Ain't No Stopping Us Now by McFadden and Whitehead. Look it up.
True.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Winning
They're on
by
the move.
Santana.
Yes.
That's always a good one.
Yes.
And one more.
Oh, what's the song from the Karate Kid during the montage?
I'm drawing a
You're the
blank.
best around.
Oh, yeah. That's always a good one. I'm going to throw...
Joe Esposito. Joe Esposito's You're the Best Around.
Yes. I'm going to throw... I just had it. What was it? Walking on Sunshine, Katrina and the Waves.
Okay. There you go. So that's a good start. A lot of folks have contributed, keep contributing in the timeline. Jorge B. has a couple of questions.
Okay.
During the international break, are the players on a short vacation or are they required to train on a regular basis?
I would imagine that there will be a short vacation. Not sure how long, but probably...
Beach pictures from Lorenowitz?
Very, very possible. Probably into the middle of next week, maybe even late next week. They might come back Thursday, Friday and train. That's been the usual MO.
And the second question I'm going to save for Mike Conti when he joins us over the top of the hour.
I saw that there was some discussion about juice box flavors and juice boxes.
Yes, that is correct. Thomas Gwynn says, I love a good aloe juice box to soothe my sunburned esophagus. Wait, what?
Yeah. If you can figure out, Eric Cantona and John were both making no sense in the last 24 hours.
Well, and Jarrett likes aloe as a part of his drinks. So Thomas, have a discussion with Jarrett.
All right, y'all figure that out because I got nothing.
Yep. Yeah. Shiva. Frank DeBoer has a good way of motivating this team. He does not use exhaustion as an excuse. He said top teams win a trophy one day, go win another game a couple days later. And so she's going with an outright win, thinking that LGP is going to make up for what happened on Tuesday.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the only other thing that affects it is top teams in Europe, for example, when they're playing in Champions League and league play and domestic cup, they have a deeper roster. They just have more bodies, so they're able to funnel the roster a little bit more. Atlanta doesn't have that, although they have as deep of a roster as you're going to find in this league, to where you're almost too deep across the board. So you could see some rotation to keep it fresh, but yeah, it's not an excuse. I mean, if you want to be a top team, you got to go for every trophy in front of you. You don't get to come out and say, well, we're not going to take this one seriously.
And Alyssa Martin is saying, by the way, cran grape is a quality flavor for a juice box.
I was a little harsh on cran grape. It's okay. It's not my favorite. I'm not a big cranberry fan. That's what the problem for me. Grape's okay. I don't really like the cranberry element.
I was an Ocean Spray kid, so that was where that came from for me. I got it when they started mixing things.
Not a fan of the cranberry. Sorry.
Swickster didn't realize Sunday's Western Conference games had such a huge playoff impact. Number 1 versus number 5, LAFC, Minnesota, 3 and 4, Seattle and the Galaxy. And you can't discount Saturday's East game, number 2 versus number 1. Says he would love to see the Saturday game find a national audience.
Yeah. I mean, it's a game that, I don't think many people expected Philadelphia to be in that conversation, and they have played their way into it. So it's a little bit of a shame when it comes to the Union. They deserve a bigger spotlight at times, and they definitely do this year. So it will get the local, though, and it will get our friends Kevin Egan and Dan Gargan and Jillian Sakovits back on a game, because it's been a while since they've had one.
7 weeks.
I mean, that's the other side of a big club, is you're on national TV all the time. But Kevin and Dan and Jillian will be on the call on Saturday for that, and I'm sure a lot of people will be tuning in all around the country on ESPN Plus for it. Let's take a break. Let's get Mike Conti on the line. I believe there's a question on deck, according to John, that Mike will answer. And we'll also get his thoughts on a homecoming trip for Mike, heading back to Philadelphia to face the Union. Be right back after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Apelinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here, as we get ready for a busy weekend for us. It will be all eyes on Chester, PA. Atlanta United headed to Talon Energy Stadium to face the Philadelphia Union. Myself and Mike Conti will be there. Mike's heading up tonight to see some family. It's a homecoming for Mike.
Yeah, all 10 family members that I had to buy tickets for will be there. And
it wasn't easy to get tickets, was it?
No, I had to give the Philadelphia Union a big chunk of my paycheck for tomorrow night. Ooh. So I hope they invest it wisely and maybe trying to get Brandon Aronson a little more money.
This is a tough one. I mean, this is a match that we just had the question about. You know, you have big games out west, and they're getting the national spotlight. This is one that coming into the season, I don't think anyone expected it to be 1 versus 2 in the East.
No way. And I think Jonathan Tannewall of the Philadelphia Inquirer put it best that, you know, the Union have had some big regular season games because they've been fighting to make the playoffs. This is a very, very different kind of late season match for them that they've never really had before in Philadelphia, especially at home, where you know they're going to make the playoffs. You know, now they're in a battle for the number 1 seed, which they can still win. And here come the defending champions into your stadium. And if you beat them, you are going to be in really, really good shape to get the number 1 seed, or at least be able to play for it on the final day of the year. They've never really had a match like that before in Chester in the 10-year history of the Union. I'm glad to see that a lot of casuals in Philadelphia are starting to really buy into what the Union are doing. You know, the Union drew incredibly well their first year, and it's been kind of a slow, steady decline at the box office since then, and they've had some great crowds lately, and you're right, Jason. I mean, it was hard to get tickets for this game. Now, needing 10 tickets is obviously, you know, kind of a bizarre request.
Are they all together?
Mostly. And one of my nieces has to pretend that she's 23 months old. But please, no one tell Philadelphia that. But
nobody heard that.
Hopefully they aren't listening. She's 25 months, so I don't think they're going to card her. Anyhow,
this could be the 6th sellout of the season.
Yeah,
if they sell
I love
out.
that. That's great. I mean, and it's not like they're selling out because, you know, DC fans are all taking a train and going up there, though they did have a lot of fans up there last week, and I acknowledge that. It's not like New York City fans and Red Bull fans are taking the train or the turnpike down, and it's a lot of opposing fans in their stadium. And I have to tell you that when that stadium gets cranked up, with the river end and the supporters that they have there, when they have good weather, it actually creates a pretty electric atmosphere. It's a great stadium. I think one of the more underrated stadiums in the league. So as it pertains to Atlanta United, you know, this is not that dissimilar from the challenge of playing in Portland or Orlando. You're going to play in a noisy stadium. There are going to be a lot of people against you. I can say this because I'm from Philadelphia. So, you know, if anyone wants to narc on me for this, go ahead. I'll just use the I'm from Philly card. Philly fans can be salty and a little bit profane and inappropriate. And, you know, you're going to be hearing that. You're going to be hearing that tomorrow, and that's okay. That's okay. That's good. That creates a vibe in that stadium. It's similar to the vibe that we talked about in Orlando last Friday. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The Bedoya absence is big, but I don't think backbreaking for them. The Barco absence for Atlanta is big, but not backbreaking for Atlanta. Conditions will be perfect. So let's go out and play and find out. Let's find out where these teams are. Philadelphia and Atlanta, when they played here the third week of the season, neither of them had a win yet. Both of them have been very, very good since. So let's see now where both teams are. I think it's a good barometer for both teams.
And, Mike, with that one absence that we know about with Barquito, Jorge B. is asking whether or not we think they're switching back to another formation, Heinemann, Nagbe, Remedi, Miram, Pereira, Gressel, P.T. Joseph, or is it pretty much just ride with what's gotten you here, you think, with what we've seen the last month or two?
I don't think they changed the formation. I mean, they might be dynamic within the game, but I think their philosophy will be to start in the 3-5-2. For me, I guess it would be Heinemann for Barco in a like-for-like situation. I do wonder if Villalba is a factor here, and maybe you drop Pitti into the midfield and play Villalba as a second striker. I just don't know how much Tito can give you. I think you have some options, and I think you have more than enough options to stay in the 3-5-2 if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. What do you think Philadelphia does to replace Alejandro Bedoya? Bedoya and Medunjanin have been so critical to them, whether they're in the 4-4-2 that they've played in mostly or the 4-2-3-1 that occasionally they'll switch to, and they played against DC and had great success with. That Bedoya-Medunjanin pairing has been the hallmark of this team.
Yeah, but, I mean, they still have quality. They have Fabian, they have Katzper, obviously. I mean, they have plenty of quality. I don't worry about Philadelphia's ability to score goals, and I don't worry about their philosophy. I think they'll go out there and they'll try to play, pretty honest, which could create what has been rare lately for Atlanta United, which is a high-scoring league game. I don't know. I mean, I guess we're just going to kind of have to see. I think, excuse me, more than anything, I mean, missing Bedoya, from a leadership standpoint, excuse me, I am really under the weather, guys. I am really struggling. Excuse me. I think missing Bedoya from a leadership standpoint probably hurts you. But Philadelphia's been pretty resilient, and I think every time you wait for them to falter, they never really do. Their loss to Chicago a couple weeks ago, I guess, would be the outlier. So I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to have a good game even with Bedoya and Barco not playing.
I'm with you on Bedoya. I think it opens the game up more to not have him. I think they'll be fine in the attack, but defensively they might struggle a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll see. They've gotten good goalkeeping from Blake, obviously. They're playing at home. They probably have more pressure on them because they are at home. But I don't think that changes the philosophy or the tactics for them, to be honest with you. I mean, as much pressure as they have, I think they can also go out there with a nothing-to-lose mentality because you're playing the defending champs. And, even if you lose this match, you still have the opportunity to get some big points back when you play New York City. Same could be said for Atlanta, too, obviously.
And Mike, you bring up Philadelphia here, and I think that getting to the quarter pole in the match, I think it's going to be a good test case for where Philadelphia is as a team between the years, because in a game like this, at home, playing the defending champs, number one versus number two in the East, I think obviously with Bedoya not being a part, but I think it's a good gauge for them internally to figure out how to handle these kinds of situations, because I don't think it's been a situation that they've been front and center with for quite some time. I think it'll be a good mental test case for where Philadelphia is too.
Yeah, but I think Atlanta as well. I mean, Atlanta is 9-1-0 over their last 10, and they've scored the first goal in all 10 of those matches across all competitions. How's Atlanta United going to react if they go behind early, which has been a problem for them on the road this year? Not lately, but it's been a problem for them on the road. I'll be curious to see what the response would be from an Atlanta standpoint if they do concede first. I mean, the thing is, you have been trailing and you've been able to pull out wins. The Club American match, you were trailing in the second half. You came back and you got a victory there. So I don't worry about it too much. I just think it would be interesting. Because, again, you're on the road. It's not going to be comfortable for you. I think the crowd on Tuesday did a really, really good job propelling Atlanta United after Leandro Gonzalez-Pirez was sent off. You're not going to have that luxury on Saturday. So, Atlanta United's going to have to be really, really, really switched on, really concentrating, really dialed in and ready from the opening whistle, because I think Philadelphia will go right at them. And I'd have to look this up to confirm it. The MLS game notes aren't out on the match yet, but I want to say Philadelphia has scored an inordinate number of goals in the first 15 minutes this year. I would have to go back and look to confirm it, but I feel like, especially lately, Philly is scoring a lot early, and it's certainly so against DC last weekend. I mean, they are jumping on teams early, and that gets you concerned because Atlanta United has had, even this summer, even relatively recently, some lapses of concentration on the road early. So they're going to have to be communicating very well and ready to go and not sleepwalking in the first 5 or 10 minutes of this match.
Yeah, as good as Atlanta was in the first 20, 30 minutes on Tuesday against Minnesota, Philadelphia was that good early on against D.C. last weekend. Right. Jim Curtin wasn't happy with the way they closed it out, but he loved the way they started. I want to see lineup-wise what Philadelphia does and tactics-wise, because they've played in this 4-4-2 that's played a lot like a 4-3-1-2 all season long. Against D.C., they switched to a 4-2-3-1. It's not something that they've done very much. Do they go with one or two up top against Atlanta's back line? For me, that's one of the biggest questions. And you look at a player like Shabilko, a guy that's incredibly underrated but just had his contract renewed for next season. He's been one of the best players in the league this year.
Yeah, I mean, Shabilko is probably the type of player that – who was the guy they signed last year as a designated player in May? And he's already gone. They signed a designated player, I want to say from Turkey, but I could be wrong. I'm a mess today, guys. Forgive me. They signed someone last year, and it didn't work out, and he's gone. And Shabilko, I think, is the guy that they were kind of hoping would give the impact that they did not get when they tried to make that move last year.
Yeah, it was a great move for Shabilko. They got him last September. Option was picked up. He'd been with Kaiserslautern, and contract was up. They got him on a free. They didn't really know exactly what to expect, and he's been, when you look at the numbers, 12 goals, you're like, well, yeah, that's good. But when you look at what he's done over 90-minute spans, he's one of the best forwards in the league, and his movement will be really difficult for Atlanta to deal with. Do you expect to see Florentine Pogba in the back line again?
I think so. I still believe that Michael Parkhurst is going to have to play at some point, right? I mean, he should be extremely well rested, but it just feels like he's out of the mix right now. And the good thing is you feel okay with Pogba getting this repeated work. I mean, he's been able to endure it from a fitness standpoint. We haven't seen him suffer any one of those soft tissue injuries that was kind of dogging him a little bit. So from a liability standpoint, I don't really worry about that at all. I don't know if you saw Taylor Twellman's tweet, by the way, guys. I guess he heard from Disco that Gressel will not be suspended on Saturday. Taylor disagrees with that. Taylor's entitled to his opinion. That's pretty big news, though, because if Escobar is not going to be able to start, I think you're going to have to start Gressel again at right wing back if you're staying in the 3-5-2. So that's a big break for Atlanta United. If you're going into that match, forget Pogba for a second. If you're going into that match with Escobar not able to give you anything close to 90 minutes and Gressel unavailable, then you're looking at moving a piece or changing shape. And if Gressel's going to be able to play, that's a pretty big break for Atlanta United. I don't think he should have been suspended, by the way. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't a red live, and if it didn't go to VAR to be checked for a red, I don't know how Disco can come back and retroactively give him a red. And quite frankly, if I'm building a case for Julian, let's find the play in the first half when Nani kicked him in the head. I don't think on purpose, but certainly a very dangerous play.
I feel like they're very different, though, because Nani's playing the ball and reckless, and Gressel, there's nothing to do with the ball. If he had been suspended, I wouldn't have been surprised, and there's really no argument that he shouldn't have been. And I do agree with Taylor in the sense that it's not consistent from Disco. Hands to the face is seen as a big thing, and it's like sometimes yes, sometimes no.
No, and the Zlatan thing from last month was a joke. But I think the other thing you got to keep in mind, too, and I hope Taylor's taking this into account, is, Gressel doesn't have a reputation of being a dirty player. Gressel's never had a major incident. I don't think he's ever been sent off in MLS. I could be wrong.
I believe so.
So no, I if he's a repeat offender, then I think it's a different discussion. I think the fact that he hasn't been caught up in an incident like this before, Disco is allowed to give a player the benefit of the doubt and take things like that into consideration. So I understand where Taylor's coming from. I don't agree, but regardless, it is a break for Atlanta United, because if you're going into this match without Escobar and without Gressel, then you look very, very vulnerable down the right. And now it's a little bit less of a concern.
Yeah, definitely that. Mike, you got a busy day, and you're heading to Philly this evening, so go rest up, my friend.
Yeah. I'm going to need some tea recommendations from you. I am a sick cowboy today, guys.
Traditional medicinals throat coat.
I use that all the time, John. No effect. This one is some kind of Martian death virus that's got me. So,
the lemon ginger is a good one for me.
Okay, yes, I get that from Super H Mart sometimes. It's like a gelatinous thing, right, that you dissolve in tea? Yeah, that's good stuff. I might be hitting that. So, but I'll see you in Philly tomorrow. We'll be on at 7 o'clock with the Five Stripes Countdown, God willing.
We'll get it done. Appreciate it, Mike.
All right, guys. Take care.
Be good.
You. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm going to let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, August 30th. Getting ready for a busy weekend. Atlanta and Philly tomorrow evening, 7:30 kickoff. What are the peeps saying on Twitter?
Jorge B. did a little soccer over there. Boca River is officially happening in Copa Libertadores. Predictions for El Superclásico. I think we all know Pitty's prediction.
Pain. suffering, craziness, chaos, things being thrown.
Toilets.
All sorts of... No, that was Newell's, John. There's a big difference. No, I don't expect toilets to be thrown. I'm going to vote against that one. But it'll be big, and you get a taste of it on Sunday, where they face off in league play for the first time since the Copa Libertadores final. So that will be a sliver of it. I think Boca's going to be missing a few people in that match on Sunday. They've had a couple injuries coming out of Libertadores action. Daniele De Rossi could be facing River for the first time on Sunday afternoon. It's a 4 o'clock match. If you have Fanatis, you can watch that one. And then the Libertadores semifinal over 2 legs will be in October. It looks like the 1st and the 22nd are the 2 dates.
Thomas Gwynn says it'd take way more than alcohol to get to Cantona's speech level of whatever that was.
Yeah, I was trying to play it safe.
Yes.
For sure.
Ricky Ricardo wants to know if we've seen the new players' new profile pics.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest surprise about it is that for the first time you're seeing the international players very engaged in the MLS Players Association activities. That's something that hasn't always happened. And with Leandro Gonzalez Perez in a position of leadership and seeing players both, American and from abroad in support of this, I think it will be a much more united front for the players as they deal with ownership in this. I think in the past, some of the conversations coming out of it was that the international players didn't really care as much because it's not something that they're used to dealing with. But at least from a perception right now, it looks like they're all united on this.
Sean Vergara wants to know our thoughts on the new Yellow Cancer pre-match kit.
It's a great cause. It's a great cause. I actually kind of like it now that I'm taking a look at it. It's better than the Americana one, and it's better than the camouflage one for me.
Yes, no doubt. Yeah, I will second and check plus that one. But yeah, definitely better than those other two. Swixter, back to the scheduling. Even crazier. In their 8 remaining games, NYCFC will play on short rest only 4 times in 5 weeks. Only one of those short rest games requires travel. That opponent, New England. After Saturday, Atlanta plays 7 games, 4 on short rest, 3 away. Cincinnati, NYC, Montreal.
Scheduling. I hope that they look at this next year and they say, man, there's some teams who really got the short end of the stick this time around, and they try. It's going to be impossible to make sure that it is completely even. It's just the nature of the competition, but I hope they try to balance that stuff out a little bit more next time around.
ATL UTD fan number 1 has a prediction 2-1 Atlanta United. Joseph and PT with goals, a late PK winner by Joseph.
Okay, I'll take that.
David King on the Gressel situation Taylor Twellman tweeted about this morning. He says if they're not going to suspend a guy, granted a huge star, for literally breaking someone's face, they were never going to suspend Gressel for this slap. It's a love tap by comparison.
By comparison, yeah, and that would be the number one argument every single time something comes up with Disco, and there's a question is, well, you didn't suspend Zlatan, so you've kind of lost the ability to suspend anybody at this point for anything that's not worse than what Zlatan did to Mohamed El Munir. So for the rest of the season, you're kind of stuck if you're Disco, and if you're on the player side, if you're on the team side, that would be the argument. Is, hey, you didn't suspend him, so this backhand, that's not as bad as what Zlatan did, so you can't suspend Gressel for it. That's why when you messed up on Zlatan, you messed up more than just that situation. You've basically rendered Disco completely ineffective for the rest of the 2019 season.
Swixter in the scheduling, his coda is that at least when Atlanta goes to New York, both teams will be on short rest. NYC will have just returned from Dallas.
Oh, that helps.
And the Colonel, apparently, Morning Colonel, was easy for him to get tickets. He says tickets were easy enough. If you bought early, will be The 8 on row E at the half line. See it air.
Nice.
Bring
Blue
long
wave.
sleeves. Perfect. Bring long sleeves. Perfect football weather, apparently.
Like it. I think the ticket sales picked up very quickly after the win over DC, which was a good one. Mike and I were talking about it all in the lead up to this. Usually in Labor Day weekend in the Philly area, a lot of people go to the shore for the final weekend. They go on vacation. They go for a weekend away. So in the past, Philadelphia has really struggled to draw in this slot at home, where they've had a game on Labor Day weekend. They are playing so much better, and I think people are buying in that ticket sales jumped dramatically after that DC win.
Shiva wants to know if Mike's math is correct that Atlanta United could clinch a playoff spot this weekend with an Orlando loss and a Montreal win.
I believe him. I don't know. I haven't done the math. That math is very complicated and difficult, so I don't know off the top of my head. I will try to get confirmation and double-check it.
We are officially, after that lightning round, caught up on Twitter. Is there anything you want to do, or do you want to go to break and welcome Doug in?
We're going to break, and then we're going to welcome Doug Robertson of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution in right after this.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Georgia. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinski of Apolinski & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, August 30th. Number 1 in the East, number 2 in the East meet tomorrow in Chester, PA. Doug Robertson from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution will be there to write about it. But first, he's got a golf round to finish up.
I'm getting ready for the Gresslemania. Oh wait, I wasn't invited to the Gresslemania.
Oh no!
No, I'm just teasing. It's all good.
Oh.
No,
How are you
right.
shooting, by the way?
Not enough to beat Joe Patrick, but I'm doing all right.
All right. This is a big one. This is the one that I don't know if Philadelphia... I don't think anybody expected Philadelphia to be having a game of this magnitude at this stage. What is it about the Union this season that's grabbed your attention?
They've got one heck of a midfield. A group of technically gifted, skilled players that can control the tempo of a game. And they've been doing that fairly well. When one guy isn't able to play Fabian, then another guy steps up. It's just been a really impressive performance by the Union. The money that they have spent on players, they've been notoriously thrifty, has been well done. They've got good young center backs. the two of the better ones last year haven't even played a lot this year. And Jack Elliott has come back because he didn't play a lot last year. And they got Andre Blake in goal. They're just a really solid team. Do I think they're going to make it to the MLS Cup? No. But I think they're a really good team and have a really solid future.
Well, and Doug, when you look at Philadelphia and all the guys that you've described, there are different ways in MLS for levels of success. And what we're seeing in Atlanta United is one, and we're also seeing it through Philadelphia as well, doing it through their academy and then making key pickups like Casper and things like that. So they're just a different way of getting to success in MLS 3.0 these days.
Yeah, and that's a really good sign because, Atlanta and Seattle, I guess, are outliers, maybe LAFC, for how to build an MLS franchise. And the markets coming in, Nashville, Austin, St. Louis, they're not going to have the same revenue streams, in my opinion, as does Atlanta United. And so they need to find the different blueprint. And there are quite a few teams in MLS this year that are kind of showing them how to do it without going crazy with the transfer fees, which is what some people, think Atlanta United has done.
Yeah, you got to find the balance. I mean, you can go out and sign a Marco Fabian when it's the right time to do it, and he's delivered for the most part. He's had some injuries that have slowed him down, but you also go out and get a Kasper Shabilko on a free late last season. That's paid off. You go and get Fafa Pico before that. That's paid off. Jamiro Montero, not a big name. That's paid off. Harris Medunjanin wasn't a player that anybody was chasing before he came to Philadelphia. That's paid off on top of developing talents like a Brendan Aronson. This is maybe a more repeatable blueprint for the rest of the league.
Yeah, there are gambles. Typically, teams with the higher transfer fees, the higher wage bills, are the ones that had the most success because they're buying the more bona fide players. So when you do it like Philadelphia is doing it, it's a better plan for the smaller market clubs, but it also comes with, I think, a little more gambles than the smaller market clubs. Now, of course, you can erase those gambles a lot easier because you're not having to spend as much money on the next player to fix whatever that mistake might be. But I agree with you. It's a smart blueprint. I like it for Philadelphia. I would like it if Cincinnati and would follow and Nashville and I mean, St. Louis has money, but we'll see how much they spend and teams like that coming in.
So obviously the news for Atlanta United is who isn't going to be a part of things. With everything that you've been able to glean this week at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. I know that folks on our Twitter timeline this morning have had questions about formation and players and outlook. What are you looking at from Atlanta United without Ezequiel Barco?
The formation is not changing. I'll be stunned if the formation changes. They've found one that the players really, really like. It's one I think they probably should have used at the beginning of the season, but I've said that before. All they do is just plug and play. Hyman comes in for Barco, and if Hyman plays as well as he did in the Campeones Cup, Atlanta United's not going to have a whole lot to worry about, I don't think.
So you were there yesterday at the training ground. There's been a lot of ups and downs with this team emotionally lately, with winning the Campeones Cup, winning the Open Cup, celebrating those, bouncing back into league play. Where did you get a sense of the vibe yesterday as the team prepares for a really difficult match, but also the last match for a couple of weeks where they get a break afterwards?
Yeah, they're saying the right things. I mean, they know it's a big club. They were talking about that immediately after winning the U.S. Open Cup, that they've got one more big one on Saturday, and then they can get a break. I think it's going to be kind of the reverse of the Open Cup. If Philadelphia comes out, if Atlanta United can get through the first 20 minutes without giving up a goal, then I think we're going to have a good game. If Philadelphia kind of takes advantage of Atlanta's maybe tired legs and tired mind, then I think it might, get a little bit out of hand. But we'll see. But, talking about the emotions of the club, I was writing the preview, which you can find at Doug Robertson AJC and on AJC.com.
Excellent. Nicely done.
The first game against Philadelphia, to me, it was a draw, but it was one of these small turning points in the season because it was when Frank DeBoer realized the things I'm doing to this point aren't working as well as I want. The players don't seem happy. They're not executing with what I want. So he changed the formation. They went from the wingbacks to the diamond midfield because they were trying to match up with Philadelphia's diamond midfield at the time. And then that wasn't working at all. They had one shot on goal, I think, through 60 minutes, despite having a lot of possession. And then he changed it again. And they went to a 4-4-2, trying to get a result. And they got the tying goal. I don't know if it's because of the formation switch or what. But then they used that formation for a while. And they won like 5 of they lost it to Columbus in that monsoon game. And then they won 5 of 6. And they kind of hit a rocky patch where they were up and down. And then they made the change again. So I found that fascinating. I don't know why, but as I was writing about it, because everyone kept saying, "Oh, DeBoer is going to stick to what DeBoer's doing," and he didn't. I mean, he realized this is not working. Let's change it, and work with the players. And eventually, they found the one formation that worked, and then they found the better formation that worked. So that's been kind of the Atlanta just kind of used to emotional highs and lows, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make.
Well, and then you also have guys who have been just absolutely fantastic and brilliant, and pick your positive adjective when it comes to this run of form. When it comes to what has gone on in the last couple of months, who have been some of the guys that you sit there and you just know time in and time out it's going to be tremendous play? Who has impressed you the most in this run of form over the last couple of months?
Robinson has. I think he's just been a rock in the back. He's enabled Atlanta United to get numbers forward because they know that he's back there. He covers so much space. He's so fast. Counterattacks aren't going to, have as high a degree of execution if he's back there. You think about Leandro Gonzalez-Perez getting down the field on that first goal in the U.S. Open Cup. You think about Flo Paba getting the penalty in the Campeones Cup. Part of that has to be credited to Miles Robinson because they know if I go forward, Miles is back there and I don't have to worry. He's going to take up enough time that I can get back and play defense. Justin Meram has been unbelievably good. The trade of the season in Major League Soccer, I think. Hyndman doesn't consistently start, but when he comes in, he tends to make good things happen. Remedi has been strong when he's gotten to play. Dion Pereira, the few minutes he's gotten to play has been good. Pitti has really kind of found a level of comfort, I think, in this formation that has worked well for Atlanta United. And of course, Joseph has scored in 12 consecutive league games. You can't overlook him.
All right, we're going to let Doug finish out his round.
I was going to say, where are you? Right?
Hopefully he's going to be able to finish 3 under par. Is that right, Doug? That's what I have on the scoreboard.
I do. I have a birdie today. I have one lost drive on a par 5. It looked like it was going to be just an outstanding drive. And then I went to where the ball looked like it was, and it wasn't there, and I couldn't find it.
Ooh.
So just one of those.
Winter rules.
Yeah,
just drop and go.
Weird moments. But you want to get into predictions here?
Let's get into predictions so you can finish out your round and hit the clubhouse. All right. Go ahead and vote at jbailey86 on Twitter. The Bailey Daily Poll presented by Steve Apolinski of Apolinski and Associates. John, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Jared has chimed in with a 2-2 draw. I, along those same lines, think it will be exciting back and forth, but I do not think as many goals will be scored. And it is not the velvet driving shoe lock of the week like Doug likes to make it. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw.
A 1-1 draw from John. Wow, going out on a limb there.
Got to make up some points.
Yeah, something like that. Doug, what do you have?
Well, I've kind of thought a draw all week, but now listen to those two lame goobers predict draws. My black velvet driving slipper lock of the week is an Atlanta United 2-1 win. They've had good karma during this run, and I think it's going to continue.
I am equally on the 1-goal win for Atlanta, but I think this is going to be one that you want to set the DVR for and keep it for a while. 3-2. I think it's going to be hectic. Philly, defensively, if you can break their first line of pressure, things get a little chaotic, and I think they'll be even more chaotic without Alejandro Bedoya. But they're going to cause some turnovers because Atlanta's not 100% sharp. They're tired. It's a tired team, and you're going to have to move some pieces around tomorrow. But I think they have enough to hurt Philadelphia when they get through the first line of pressure, but I think they will have some turnovers and give up a bad goal because of it. I think they will find a way. I think Joseph will score in another game to keep that streak going, to get to 13, and Atlanta wins 3-2. That's my pick. Doug, what else do you have coming up with the AJC before we get through the weekend?
Well, as I said, my preview story is already up. The predicted 11 is up, and I've tweeted both of those out at Doug Robertson AJC. Then tomorrow night, you'll have a game story as soon as the whistle blows. I'll come back in and add some quotes and context to that. You'll have player ratings. You'll have the Southern Fried Soccer podcast, and then depending upon what happens in the game, you should have at least one sidebar. Maybe just one because it's a Labor Day weekend, and everybody's going to be out goofing around and having their own fun, and my daughter and my stepdaughter are going to be in Philadelphia with me, and we're going to go sightseeing. So
very nice.
Very cool. Well, I will see you in the morning at the airport because it sounds like we're on the same flight.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to y'all later.
All right.
Pretty good.
Let's take our final break. We'll come back and wrap everything up. You got questions? Tweet them at us. You got questions about Philadelphia, the way they play, what you want to dig into there, anything else, juice box flavors, musical selections, whatever is on your mind as we wrap up
Prize
another
picks and
week
fantasy
of SDH. And we have that too because John needs help with his fantasy team. Of course he does. Of course. We'll be right back after this.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Apelinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. Final segment of the week. SDH, August 30th. Labor Day weekend is nearly upon us with Atlanta heading to Philadelphia. We'll talk a little more about that. We'll get you set for fantasy and prize picks as well. Interesting numbers that have come out over the last day on high school sports participation numbers. Soccer has grown a lot on both the boys and girls side over the last decade. On the boys side, participation is up 19.6%, with 459,000 kids playing on the boys side of soccer. On the girls' side, it's up 14.4% with 394,000 playing. One of the largest, not the largest. I mean, you have a couple sports that have very small numbers that have grown a lot. Lacrosse has grown a lot on the boys' side, up 28%, but it's only up to 113,000. Fencing, which I can't believe there's high school fencing, but fencing.
In the Northeast, probably, yeah.
Up 24.9%. Cross-country skiing is up 24.6%, but there's 5,381 boys high school cross-country skiers. Volleyball's up the most, 28.8% on the boys' side. I wish we had boys high school volleyball in Georgia. I would have absolutely played that. The number that has grabbed a lot of people's attention is football, down 9.6% over the last decade. Still over a million kids playing high school football, but down 9.6%. Of the major sports, it's down the most. Golf is down 8.8. Wrestling's down 7.5. Basketball's pretty much stayed flat. It's down 0.8%. Baseball's up 2%. On the girls' side, soccer is not the biggest sport, but it is up the most of the big sports. Volleyball is up 12%. There's about 50,000 more girls playing high school volleyball. Cross country is up 10.7%. Track and field up 6.7%, 488,000, almost 100,000 more girls running track than playing soccer. But girls high school basketball is down 10%, 399,000. Less girls playing high school basketball than soccer. Or no, right at the same, sorry. Basketball's got 5,000 more, just under 5,000 more. That's a little surprising to me. Outside of that, softball's down 1.9%. That would be the other major one. So soccer on both sides, boys and girls, up double digits over the last decade. Football and girls high school basketball down nearly double digits for both. A little surprising. Yeah, a little surprising numbers, but you have in cross-country skiing as an example, you have Division I programs who are cutting back on their college programs for that out west, and so that would mean that obviously the numbers of participation would decrease. But the football number doesn't surprise me. So it's a long span of time. The FOOT football does not surprise me, considering everything that we've been talking about here on the show last couple of years and years before that. But yeah, not a surprise. I did not know, and this is from Nick Alifi. It has not been fact-checked, but I trust him. The lead singer of Iron Maiden was listed as the 6th best fencer in the UK. And he's busy singing for Iron Maiden. He's also rated as a pilot. He can pilot a 747 aircraft. He can brew his own beer, and he's constantly on tour, and he also speaks French. Ho, ha, ha, dodge, parry, spin, thrust, ha. Yeah, that was John's fencing knowledge coming out. Yes, about right. Have you ever called fencing before? Is it a fencing joust? Is it a duel? Is it a bout? What is it? I think it's a duel. Okay. I think it's a duel. All right. It's one of the sports I have not called in my history. There you go. Kind of dig it, but never called it. Ricky Ricardo wants to know who steps in for Bedoya and how does that change how the Union play? The question's bigger than that because the shape becomes a big question here. In the 4-4-2, it's often looked like a 4-3-1-2, and last time they played this was in the loss to Chicago. They switched to the 4-2-3-1 for the DC game, played well. I think they probably stick 4-2-3-1, but it's a little hard to tell. If you go 4-2-3-1, you've got a couple options. Warren Creval could be in there. He started 5 times, 1 assist. He's a more true defensive midfielder. That would allow Medunjanin to step forward a little bit higher. I don't know if that's necessarily what you want. You could drop Jamiro Montero a little bit deeper to play with Medunjanin and then play a Brendan Aronson as more of a true number 10 in front, or a Marco Fabian in front and slide Aronson out wide. I'm leaning towards Montero being the player who drops to play with Medunjanin in a pairing, and then Fabian in front, Aronson on one side, and do they start Ilsinho on the other. Ilsinho's only got 6 starts this year, played in 22 matches. He's been the super sub. Unbelievable dribbler, creates a ton of chances for Philadelphia. He's just not a player who can play 90 minutes week in, week out at this stage of his career at 33 years old. So do you start him or do you go speed with a Fafa Pico out wide on the other side? I think it'll look more like DC, and it'll be Montero who drops. That's my guess at this stage.
Matt probably thinks that the home stretch is going to be a nail-biter in the SDH Open Fantasy League.
Yes, I think it will be too. It's been so close. You keep waiting for some separation when we get the updates from the commissioner, Jason Wright, and it just doesn't happen. It's so ridiculously tight. And here's your update going into the week. Remember, Montreal and Vancouver played on Wednesday, so you're going to leave those players out unless you already put them in your lineup. The top performers last week in the league: Home Sweet Soccer, 171 points. For Whom the Bellow Tolls, 166. Don't Var Me Bro and VOTS at 164. In the Open League standings right now, 4 points separates first and second. 4. That's absurd at this stage.
Crazy.
Don't Var Me Bro is on top with 1272, and Check Yourself is at 1268. For Whom the Bellow Tolls, 1229. It's not like they're that far back. On the Pro Rel League side, the head-to-head, Don't Var Me Bro, 11-0-0, a perfect 33 points on the board. 9-1-1, 28 points, 3 teams tied. Cam Do Attitude, Black Hall Bombers, and Black Star FC. All right. The commish is getting into the Juicebox Purveyor mode and says that he's got numbers from a Juicebox Purveyor that Goldmine is a negative 320 in the Pro Rel League this week versus Joseph Better Than CR7, who is listed as a plus 765.
Wow.
I don't know what Juicebox Purveyors the commish has found. And they probably deal in those really weird, like organic, crazy combination flavors that you got to get at like a specialty shop. I think it's one of those
kombucha
purveyors. Yeah, there could be some kombucha in these juice boxes for sure. Cam Do Attitudes number 2. They're facing Black Hall Bombers in a big match, 2 versus 3 in the Pro Rel League. On the relegation side of it, Joseph Better Than CR7, Mucha Plata 2, Holly Springs FC, Breckasaurus are all at risk of relegation alongside 11 Fun Guys. That's a great team name. And Brecken 2 Electric Boogaloo. Come on.
I thought that was your favorite.
I didn't say it wasn't. But they got to get...
That is by far
they've got to avoid relegation, or I will
yes.
wait for Brecken 3 to come out.
Oh, no. Was there a Brecken 3?
No, there wasn't.
That's just scary to think that there might have been a Brecken 3.
There should have been, but there wasn't.
All right. Let's see. We have, Prize Picks.
Yes. Let's get into My Prize Picks. Go to myprizepicks.com. Download the apps as well. Android, iOS, both available. Use the code SDH if you have not signed up already, and your initial deposit at Prize Picks will be matched by 25%. So up to $1,000 if you have lots of extra juice boxes lying around. You can go there and get it matched up. It's daily fantasy, but it's super easy. It's over-unders on daily fantasy. They will give you a number, and you will say, I think that player is going to outperform that, or nope, I think that player is going to underperform that. Very simple. And you can make 2 picks, you can make 3 picks, or you can make 4 picks. If you hit all 4, if you do 4, then you're going to win more juice boxes. If you get 2, a little safer, not as many juice boxes, but you still win. So you can also combine all sorts of madness across the sporting spectrum. right now, as I look at Prize Picks, and I'm like, all right, if I wanted to play this weekend, what would I do? I go to the MLS board. Lots of options. Good options. Okay. All right. I want to pair up some MLS picks with NASCAR. Not on the board yet, but it will be. EPL.
Darlington.
It's there. Timo Pukki is an 8.
Take it. Over.
Raul Jimenez, 4.5.
Avoid.
Miguel Almiron, 3.
Who's Newcastle playing?
They are playing Watford.
Oh, yeah, Watford bottom of the table, 0-3. Over.
All right. You've got NFL preseason. Or no, they have actually already got the first week of the season up, so you can jump ahead to September 8th. All right. We'll leave that one for next time. You've got MMA. Trying to look at a good one here. I don't know how the MMA points work because there's points to it. So I guess you're picking a winner and they have to win in a certain manner and different things. Jessica Andrade has a 98.7. That's a large number for Jessica Andrade.
That's got to be a combination of strikes and things like that.
Yeah, I haven't dug into that one. That one's a little
too much math. Avoid.
You got tennis as well. Novak Djokovic,
US Open.
31 is his number. You've got college football is on the board now.
I've heard of this sport.
Jamie Newman, the quarterback from Wake Forest, to go over or under 23.4 points against Utah State.
Under. Utah State, sneaky good, and they've got Gary Anderson back as head coach.
Well, if you know Utah State players, their quarterback, Jordan Love, is also on the board. You also have picks from Nevada and Purdue, Oregon State and Oklahoma State, Colorado State and Colorado, Wisconsin and USF, and Michigan State and Tulsa. Those are your options on the board at the moment. You have WNBA and you have Major League Baseball. But the ones that you guys are here for, Major League Soccer. Joseph Martinez, 9.5 against Philadelphia. Ooh, that's a tough number. Vaco, 7.5 against Orlando. Wayne Rooney, 5.5.
Under.
Wait a minute. He is suspended.
See? Under.
No, not under, because then you're wasting a pick and it's screwing up your whole board. If they don't start, it doesn't count, and it's eliminated. So if you did 4 picks and you had Wayne Rooney and he doesn't start, then you go down to the 3-pick option. So don't do that. Mara Minota, 6. Kai Kamara, 4.5. Shabilko, 7.
That's right there.
Daniel Royer, 6.5. Valeri, 6.5. Wondolowski, 7.5. Pity Martinez, 4. Albert Ellie, 6.5. Valentin Castellanos, 7.5.
There's a lot of numbers that are right there.
Yeah, they really came up with some good ones this time. Then you've got some on Sunday as well. Carlos Vela, 13. Zlatan, 11.
Provided he starts.
Diego Rossi, 6. Darwin Quintero, 5. I would go, just looking at it at a glance without studying hardcore, I am feeling like an under for Castellanos, an under for Ellis, an over for Rossi, and an over for Pity.
Yeah, I was going to go over for PT. Here's what our resident prize picker has. Over on PT.
Are you going to share the resident prize picker's name?
Daniel Price.
Well, you got to make sure.
Diego Rossi over at 6. Wando under at 7.5. And Zlatan over at 11.
Yeah, I kind of like the Zlatan one. Not enough to take it, but yeah, I'm not going to argue with that one.
So that's what Daniel has. Time to fix the fantasy team, I guess.
Yeah. What do you have?
All right. In net, Vega.
Okay.
Backline, Ziegler, Hedges, Thompson, Tinnerholm.
Okay.
Midfield, Mark Anthony Kay, Maxi Morales, Jackson Ewell, Daniel Royer.
Got a lot of NYC players in there, and I don't know about that game to Vancouver. Okay.
And then up front, I've got Joseph and a Captain Daybear.
Okay. You're rolling with Dome Tarrant.
Yep. That is correct.
Crossed.
I'm rolling with Dome, which is a mini-series all of its own.
Yeah, it should be. Fingers crossed on that. Tweet on the board from Jordan Rodrigue, who writes about the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. I asked Dave Tepper when he expects to hear word from Major League Soccer on a possible Charlotte expansion, and he joked, quote, a week ago, before seriously saying the bid group is expecting news by the end of the year. Tepper confirms that he, Don Garber, and MLS have been in, quote, constant conversations, unquote, and he remains hopeful. And there is an article about where things stand over at The Athletic.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm. They won it in 2021, so they would come in with Austin, and they are aggressive. So keep an eye on Charlotte. Stephen Goff at the Washington Post tweeted out that DC United will be loaning U20 international central midfielder Chris Durkin to Sint-Truiden in Belgium through May. There's an option to buy. He's arriving there today. Okay.
Uh-huh.
DC is all over the place. I just don't know. I don't know. I got nothing. I don't know why Durkin hasn't gotten more opportunities this year. I think it slowed him down in a big way. I think he definitely needed to push for a move somewhere because he has to play. And if Russell Canals has beaten him out, and Canals has been dealing with an injury as of late, but Canals was really good last year. He hasn't been quite as good this year, but he's been good. If he's beaten him out, then Durkin needs to go somewhere to play. And if DC's made the decision that Canals is just a couple years older and he's the guy, then make the money you can make. Don't string him along. I don't know much about this Belgian club and how big they are and what kind of money we're talking about, but Durkin was a player who was linked to Portuguese clubs at one point, major Portuguese clubs. This feels like a setback after a setback kind of a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree and stipulate to all of that, sir. Yeah, this one, I mean, with all of the DC United anticipated roster problems and issues, we know with Rooney, anticipating with Acosta, everybody else in there, and now Chris Durkin's heading out. Okay.
Tom Bogert over at MajorLeagueSoccer.com, or MLSsoccer.com. 5 questions for the weekend that we'll finish up with. What now for Darwin Quintero and Minnesota United? We talked about it earlier, the quotes from him given to Andy Greeter of the Pioneer Press. He also followed up, not just about the game on Tuesday, just about the season as a whole. He said, this season has very much taken me by surprise. I haven't played the games nor the minutes that I would have liked. I haven't felt the same level of confidence from the coach. They have an option on him next year. It doesn't seem secure that they want him back next year, and I don't know if he necessarily wants to be back.
Yeah.
What now for Quintero and Minnesota United? I think they should be fielding calls from other teams in the league.
Yep.
Because that's a salary number that you can take on. It's a designated player contract, but it's not a big one. And for a team that's not a major spender, now you're not talking about a transfer fee to bring him in. You're just talking about a trade. You're trading allocation money. You're trading assets. Like, he feels like a player that could put a number of teams over the top for 2020. I would expect that they'll be getting some calls.
Houston?
Houston, there's so many questions. I don't even know if you can say anything about Houston right now. You don't know who's going to be managing them next year. You don't know who's back out of Albert Ellis, Romel Kyoto, Mauro Manotas. Kyoto responding on Instagram to posts saying that he's not going to be there very much longer. And I think he was also possibly intending to speak for others. It was also in response. I think a lot of people were very unfair in their reaction to Kyoto's comments. It was a very harsh comment from a fan about not wanting Kyoto there anymore, and he was basically like, okay, you get your wish. So Houston, who knows? I mean, I don't even know what to say about what they'll be next year. They need more than one piece. We'll see who it could be. We'll see what happens as the year finishes up. Next question. Can Seattle build on their Cascadia Cup win? Sounders were fizzling. They get the big win over Portland. Now they get the Galaxy. We talked about it. The Galaxy have struggled on the road, but the Galaxy have a weapon that can hurt Seattle's weakness, which is at center back. So can Seattle get another win this week? I don't know if it's a definite.
Yeah.
I think it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not seeing it. I'm still thinking draw there or Galaxy pull out a win just because of all the issues Seattle has defensively.
This is a really good question. Better duo, Carlos Gil, Gustavo Bo, or Alejandro Pozuelo, Josie Altidore? Not as easy of an answer as you think. New England doesn't get as much hype as Toronto, and Gustavo Bo hasn't been there quite as long. But Bo has got 5 goals in 598 minutes.
Yeah.
Carlos Gil, on a bad New England team for a lot of the season, has 9 goals and 12 assists. Flip side, Josie, in over double the minutes of Bo, has 12 goals, 5 assists. Pozuelo, in 500 or so less minutes, has 9 goals, same number of goals as Gil, 9 assists. You look at expected goals and what they're creating, it's pretty similar. You look at their team's success with both of them starting, it's pretty similar. Whichever duo is better on Saturday night is who's going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you were taking them away from this particular matchup, even with the small sample size, I was going to say Bo and Gil because of what we've seen from Gustavo Bo in his short time in New England, and I think that there's an upside there.
I think Bo and Gil are the better duo, slightly, but I think they're the better duo. With both of them starting, New England is 4-1-2. With both Josie and Pozuelo starting, Toronto 5-2-3. Both teams have the same record with only one starting or neither one starting. Both teams are 5-8-3 if they don't have that duo starting together. So they're critical, and whoever has the better night is going to be on the winning side on Saturday night. Tom Bogert also asked, what's the must-watch ESPN Plus game of the weekend? He says it's Philadelphia-Atlanta, which I'm not going to argue with. We will take that one off the board since we are maybe slightly biased when it comes to that. On Saturday, what is your ESPN Plus game of the week?
Oh, boy. That's a good one. Because I was going to go more than one division.
Okay, go with something else, too. That's cool.
I was going to go with Tormenta in Richmond.
Okay. Why? Sell it.
Because right now, with the log jam that USL League One is right now, with 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, all within shouting distance of each other with a handful of games left in the schedule. Richmond has they got hot and they've kind of tempered off right now. Greenville won in Madison midweek, and now Greenville is third in the standings, 2 points ahead of 3 teams who are 4, 5, and 6 right now. One of those is Tormenta, and I would go with that one. If you're looking for one that's not MLS, go to League One and check out Tormenta in Richmond.
Okay. MLS for me, it would be New England, Toronto, and Portland, Real Salt Lake. Those are the two that I keep coming back to. Vancouver, NYC could just be weird and stupid and probably a little drunk.
Program it in, click onto it so you got it, so it's on your last button. So all you have to do is hit your last button to go back to it if you need to.
Yeah, it could be a little weird. There's not a great USL Championship game to recommend. Sunday, New Mexico United hosting Orange County. That's one to keep an eye on. Tomorrow night, Tampa Bay and Nashville at 7:30. Phoenix Rising tries to keep their winning streak going on the road in Colorado Springs.
They should. They should.
Yeah, that's there's not a massive USL Championship game that you have to see this weekend. And then the final question, who are the players to watch this weekend? And this is who Tom Bogert went with. Brian Fernandez. He's going to have to be big for Portland against RSL. I agree with that. Flip side, Albert Rusnak. Albert Rusnak's a player to watch all the time. It doesn't get talked about enough in this league, but he is absurd. And a really good shout from Bogert on the final one, Tim Howard. It is his final return to New Jersey as a professional player, and he's one of the state's greatest ever athletes. I'll be curious to see what the reaction is. He started his career with that club when they were known as the Metro Stars. It's been a long time. I hope he gets a good reaction. You know, we've had a lot of fun talking about Tim Howard over the years, and it's been a little sad to see the dip in form from him recently. But Tim Howard is right there in the conversation as best ever American goalkeeper. And it's not an easy conversation because Brad Friedel's in it. Casey Keller's in it. You want to go further back, Tony Meola can absolutely be in that conversation. It's tough to nail down just one, but Tim Howard's there, and this is his last game as a pro back at home. I hope he gets a great reaction.
For me, other than the New England players that we've already talked about, I had Bojan in Montreal against DC United.
Mm-hmm. That's a good shout.
Let's see, who else? Some combination of Vaco and Wando for San Jose against Orlando.
Vaco's another one that's a must watch because he's another one of those guys that doesn't get talked about enough. But man, he is electric. He is spectacular, and against Orlando, he's going to have to be because they're a good defensive team.
Then the tall Swede, obviously, for must see against Seattle on 9-1. And then Carlos Vela, because of the subplot of the hamstring. Does he start? Does he play? Is he in the 18? And then how does LAFC reorient against Minnesota?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that happened in a massive game on Sunday, and I'm scrolling back through the last few articles over at MLSsoccer.com, and I'm like, Vela. Where is he?
Nope.
Where is he? Where's the talk about it? Where's the talk about throwing the captain's armband on the ground? Where is the conversation? Oh, it's just not happening.
Zero.
Whatever.
Nope.
All right. Cool. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't either.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Bob
I feel
Bradley.
like Reverend Jim at that point. You just sit there and you go, hooky duck.
Yeah, I mean, they play Sunday. Bradley will be speaking to the media, I would assume, today. So maybe we'll get some answers on where he stands with the hamstring, where the conversation stands, just in general about how that happened, because it didn't look good. I think it was just a little blown out of proportion, too, because it looked like Vela understood pretty quickly, like, yeah, this is a smart play. Even though we really want to beat these guys and I want to be the guy to score the goal, I'm not 100%. And he was up supporting his team, so he also punched the seat in front of him, and he also slammed the captain's armband down on the ground. So there's lots of things to talk about, but nobody's talking. So I don't know.
Nope.
Pablo Maurer with The Athletic has some more details on the Durkin loan to close us out. Loan fee in the neighborhood of $250,000. That's pretty good. Centurion, if they choose to purchase his rights, the transfer fee would be around $2.25 million. It's not bad.
No.
In January, they turned down a similar offer from Bayer Leverkusen, which in January you had Russell Canals, who had given you a good 6 months. I don't have a problem with DC not making a deal in January because you wanted to see, all right, is Knaus the guy? If he's not, then it's going to be Durkin. Well, sounds like Knaus just beat him out. So now Durkin moves on. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think it's okay. It's a little weird to do the move now at this stage as you're battling for a playoff run, but you did add Felipe, so you added another defensive midfielder. You feel like you've got enough cover, I guess, and you get money coming in and potentially more money coming in. So, I think it's all worked out okay.
Yeah, and when you mentioned 2.25, I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I feel like maybe they could have done a little more to get a little more, but it's not too bad. It's okay. It's better than letting players walk on a free, which still could happen with Luciano Acosta. And then you got Bill Hamid. You got to figure out his loan, and you did let Wayne Rooney walk on a free, but it's a little different. Although now you're kind of dealing with the payback of that with Rooney missing games on a regular basis. So. We shall see. Lots of stuff to talk about as we come back. We will do a show on Monday morning. For those of you who are out of work, you can still tune in on the app, on soccerdownhere.net, on Spreaker. We will be doing soccer over there live from the Brewhouse Cafe and Little 5 Points.
So if you still have the day off, come and visit.
Exactly. Come out and grab some dinner and hang out and throw some questions at us. Be from 6 to 8. You can listen in the usual spots, but you can also join us live. We'll wrap up the weekend around the world of action. We will have a Super Classico to talk about in Argentina. We will have some big games on the European continent to talk about, and we'll also look ahead to upcoming national team action that'll start next week. There's a big U.S.-Mexico game. You know, that's always a big one. We'll get into that as well. So that'll be soccer over there, 6 to 8. Normal show, 9 to 11 on Monday. If you want to listen to the radio broadcast of Atlanta-Philly, it's on 92.9 The Game. It's on the radio.com app. It's on the Atlanta United app. It's also, our call will be on Sirius XM FC channel 157. Pre-match starts at 7, kickoff just after 7:30. Full-time report will be on all of those places except for Sirius XM FC for an hour after the final whistle. It's a big one. It's 1 versus 2 in the East. I think it will live up to all of the hype. I think it'll be a game with lots to talk about afterwards, but also a very entertaining tactical battle. And there's lots of questions going in. We'll see if we have lots of answers coming out. Thanks, everybody, for listening all week and chiming in on Twitter. One of our biggest weeks in SDH history. Lots of you guys.
Thank all of you.
Listening and tweeting at us and talking about juice box flavors and playlist selections and all kinds of stuff. It's been fun. And we'll be back on Monday to do it all over again. Much plot, y'all.
Much plot, y'all.